we know that the big story right now is that Paul Ryan is whining about, people are misinterpreting my Medicare proposal. They're not, and look, we know the problem.
I look like Eddie Munster.
Right. Well, the problem he has is that not that people are misinterpreting his proposal. It's that they know what it is.
Right. The big problem is that he's not a good enough liar. If he had named it Healthy Forests, maybe we all would have believed it or something. Or if he'd said mission accomplished or, that kind of thing. Instead, actually, truthfully, he told the truth about what it does, which is destroying Medicare and turning Medicare into some private voucher program that will throw all sorts of seniors back into destitution, which seems to be where the Republican Party's comfortable with them being. And the end result of that, of course, is that most people look at this thing and know that it's insane.
Now, you make a great point here. Usually the Republicans would name something like this, like the Strengthen Medicare.
Patriot Act.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about the Patriot Act. That's also sort of depressing, too. But they would name it like, save our seniors proposal, or
clean coal.
Yeah, well, not clean coal, obviously, for health care, but yes, we get the idea here. So, but here's the interesting thing. Then you've got Joe Scarborough, and on his program yesterday, Scarborough started talking about it. Now, I cannot believe, the conversation is between Harold Ford and Joe Scarborough. And you could.
There's a wide range of opinions.
I was going to say, you could not get a pin wedged in between their ideology.
So Scarborough was actually the one to the left in that conversation.
Well, listen to this though, because to me, this is the perfect representation of Joe Scarborough's show, which is just a bunch of insider Washington Beltway people who are all wealthy, who don't give a shit about other people. B, this is what Ryan Proposals is all about. And while Ryan can go on Scarborough and complain that people are misinterpreting it, Scarborough knows exactly what it's about. And listen to this. It's 2 minutes long, but I want you to listen to it because this encapsulates, and I would argue that whether it's anyone from Jonathan Alter to Matt Miller, it is just a sliding scale, a spectrum of belief that at the end of the day, none of these people are aware or care. It's somewhere in between there, just how much people rely on things like Social Security and Medicare. So listen to Joe Scarborough and Harold Ford.
Paul Ryan's message, not his budget, but Paul Ryan's message, put in the right hands of the right candidate, does get people out of their seats.
Well, framed the right way. People like Medicare, and if it is framed as someone's against Medicare, first of all, Barack Obama's in a stronger position today than he was 3 months ago. But if you frame it as Medicare, it's going to be.
I like chocolate cake. You know what else I like? I like steak, and I don't just like the lean steak. I like the steak that has the fat. And if I'm really wanting to do what I like, I will actually carve off the fat first and eat it and watch it go down my face. Now, I would like to have that every lunch and dinner. I would love to wake up with chocolate cake and wash it down with a big fat milkshake. Hold on a second. My point is very clear. I like Medicare, too. I like sunshine. I like daffodils. I like a lot of things. But you can't have sunshine every day. As Bill Clinton once said in a letter, every day can't be sunshine. And guess what? No, Medicare is going bankrupt. If Medicare, hold on, Americans are not too stupid to grasp this. In fact, Americans are pretty damn smart. If you just hold up a chart that says Medicare is going bankrupt, and here's the line. So let's decide today. Do we want to tell people who are 50 years and younger you're going to get Medicare at 70, or slow down the rate of growth for people who are 50 and younger, or do we want it to collapse? You decide. There's a poll out today, an AP poll, that says the majority of Americans think that you can balance the budget
without cutting key entitlement programs.
Without
now, Pat,
cutting any entitlement programs. Why don't we take a poll and ask how many Americans believe 2 + 2 is 4? And I will guarantee you, if a majority disagree with that, It doesn't change the fact that 2 plus 2 is 4.
I'm in agreement.
All right, I'm going to start backwards first.
Who was that talking? Was that
That's
Joe?
Scarborough.
Oh, his voice sounded a little bit different. I mean,
well, now
I don't even know where to begin with.
Well, I'm going to start from the backwards forward. Now, we know there is only one budget proposal that has been offered so far that actually zeroes out the deficit. That is the People's Budget. It's by the Progressive Caucus, and it does not cut entitlements. It does not cut Social Security. It doesn't do any of those things. So you can deal with the debt and the deficit without cutting entitlements. So let's move track forward. Here he's talking about what Medicare...
Can I say one thing, Sam? It's also important to state Sally Cohn, if you know, she has a great piece in USA Today the other day, how actually some debt is actually required and good, which Paul Krugman can point out.
Oh, of course. And
the truth of the matter is that this is overblown and stupid. We spent 8 Bush years with Dick Cheney saying Reagan taught us deficits don't mean anything, and these guys couldn't care a lick about deficits. I mean, we need to start with the whole matrix-like sort of that people have been placed into, where they suddenly have been convinced that this means something. When, as you said, it's a bunch of inside Washington arrogant asses who have no idea, even though they may have come, some of them, from real parts of America initially, but clearly they haven't been back forever.
And by real parts of America, you're just simply talking about the average experience of 80% of the country. And,
right. I mean, it's to obsess over that is so utterly stupid. And again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to go on a tangent.
No. But that's a good point. And basically on this program, it's understood that the whole deficit debt thing is completely overblown. We have a long-term problem, but right now we should be adding more debt. We should be borrowing more money, more stimulus. We should be borrowing more money at historically low rates. Ezra Klein has a good piece up today about how the fact the deficit is really just used by everyone to push an ideological agenda. But let's go to the heart of the matter here. He starts off by saying people are not getting Paul Ryan's message. And he goes on to say that Paul Ryan's message is that Medicare is like chocolate cake. It's like the fat off of a steak that I'd love to just shove in my mouth and have it drip down.
Well,
he is saying that Medicare is the functional equivalent of hedonism. And
right.
So here's a guy who doesn't have to worry about his elderly folks. He doesn't have to worry about cancer treatment. He doesn't have to worry about whether or not he has health insurance. He is saying Medicare is hedonism.
No,
this
can
is
I give you
stunning, and there's nobody on that goddamn show who says a word about it.
Right. Now, can I say something, because this is important here? The exact picture, the fat-eating, cake dripping down their mouth, fat ass stuck in their chair, doesn't do any real work, person that they're talking about, yeah, that's Dick Cheney and Halliburton. All right, that's every one of these companies that sits around getting oil subsidies and literally has the gall to show up in Congress and whine and cry about, oh my God, I mean, our profits might go down to only record levels since 2008 and not 2007 if we were to cut those. The simple is the image they're trying to portray of somebody who is destitute and has to rely on Medicare or Medicaid. That is the image of these fat ass. The guy I read about a couple years ago.
It's not even destitute. We're talking about 2/3 of the country.
You're right. I just saying.
People, and here's the thing: is that just to break down his analogy, he is actually saying that the reason why I can't eat chocolate cake or steak at every meal, it's fatty steak, a big juicy steak. The reason why I can't do it is because I got to protect my health. I mean, there's so much wrapped up in his. He is talking about.
I got an idea. You want to protect your health?
To eat steak every day. And even though I have the means to eat chocolate cake at every meal, I got to protect my health. Meanwhile, he's using that as an analogy for the one mechanism that 2/3 of this country, maybe even greater a number, actually have to provide health for themselves. It is so twisted and demented. And the idea that Harold Ford's only response, because he loves to take a helicopter all around New York, his only response is, these rubes, they like it.
Right, exactly. It's a political response. Well, people like it, so we got to give it to them. And you're right. I shouldn't have said destitute. It is most people. I obviously I think the most about the poorest who would suffer the most if they lost it. But the truth is, you're absolutely right. It's a vast majority of the country that would suffer. And again, for them to paint this image, I got an idea. You want to take your chocolate cake away? You want to make it healthier for people? Stop giving ridiculous subsidies to your buddies that load you up with cash in your back pocket from the big friggin' AGRA lobby who are busy making America fatter, with the crap they're putting in our food while you're sitting there loading them up with money.
Or how about
that?
Every single
that would help
person,
the budget.
Every single person who is sitting at that table at that moment could turn around and realize that they're paying 20 percentage points less in their taxes than they would have 50 years ago. 20 percentage points less of their income in effective tax rate. 20%. No, there's no adjusting for inflation. 20 percentage points of their income would be paid if this was 60 years ago. And Joe Scarborough has
back in the 1950s when everything was wonderful.
The audacity to say this. It is everything that is wrong with everything, everywhere, bundled up, and they actually market it as a television program.
Well, just that whole panel on this whole discussion. What Paul Ryan did is let's put this in perspective. It's cowardly. It's ridiculous. It solves nothing because the truth is he gives so many corporate tax breaks. Talk about slovenly cake eating. Every one of his corporate buddies are choking on their tax cut cake all the time, but he's loading them up with more of it so that in the end we have a bigger budget deficit because of that stupid and, as Paul Krugman said, fraudulent document that he put out there than before. We want to balance the budget. You're right about the people's budget. Yeah, but there's 20 different ways we could get there. It's pretty simple. You want to do it, fine. Cut the farm subsidies to the huge conglomerates. Right. Cut the oil subsidies to those guys. All right, let's start taxing people instead of taxing hedge fund managers at the 15% rate. Start taxing them at a real rate. And in addition to all of that, we have this thing called the defense industry that creates the Dick Cheneys and Donald Rumsfelds of the world who make multi-millions of dollars, or they create stuff that half the time doesn't even use and taints water for soldiers in Iraq or whatever. Why don't we try making that, I don't know, a legitimate bidding instead of no bid contracts? We could lop off. We spend as much money in defense as the rest of the world combined. We literally could lop off, I'm guessing without even trying, 30% of that, probably a lot more. You take care of that, you take care of farm subsidies, you take care of oil subsidies, and I'm sure a whole lot of other things I'm not even thinking of, and you're there. The budget's balanced. Done. And you really that way do get to the fat cats and these people, this image that they're trying to make of people that use Medicare. That's the image of their buddies. Those are the guys they're going out smoking cigars with at the private clubs in New York. All right?
I mean, this is without even having to actually get into the argument where real adults, real people who actually give a shit about what they're talking about, know that we should not even be having conversations about how to close short or midterm deficits or debt. I mean, it's stunning. It's just, the bubble that this dude must live in, the absolute bubble